What up, you guys? We are here for our weekly energy oracle forecast, where we're just taking a look at the week ahead to see what we have in store. I'm not ready to pull yet, so I'm not going to take any of those. Hope you had a good day. My day was long. I got up early and then got ready and went to lunch with my family for my mom's birthday. And then right at the end of the meal, I had a migraine that just struck and I couldn't see much for a while. I was so wiped out. And then I went to work and I waited on a private party tonight. So I'm a little tired, but we are going to do our video. We do have a new moon in Taurus today. So I hardly even got to think about the new moon and that energy. But whenever we have a new moon, it's good to try to cultivate your consciousness, dreams, to try to cultivate your consciousness to the energy that you want to receive for the whole month ahead. If you can stay in a positive, uplifted, abundant consciousness during the new moon, then that plants positive seeds for the rest of the month. The new moon is the seed level of the energy of the whole month ahead. And so a lot of times during new moons, we might feel a little challenged. And so that's the universe giving us an opportunity to overcome that challenge with positive or intentional consciousness. And then as we overcome our negativity, we can't just bypass, we have to actually transmute it. But as we overcome our attitudes and we choose more elevated consciousness, then that kind of prepares the way for blessings to come into our life throughout the month. So plants positive seeds. I love this first card out. We have dreams. So I feel like there was something had to do, there was a transit going on that was involving all the fixed signs, but then also Pisces. And so I feel like Pisces energy is in the air right now. Something is going on with Neptune or Pisces 1. And I think that might be emphasizing the vividness of our dreams this week. So if you remember any of your dreams, try to write them down and look them up and interpret them. I like dreammoods.com. It always seems like the website is under construction, but you just go up to the top of the page and there's like an A through Z. You can pick the letter of use it like a dictionary and look up like the literal pieces of the dream that you can remember in the A through Z tab. We have duality. So when the duality card comes up, it's like we're looking at both sides of a thing, right? Sometimes it's like, look at this character here. They're like, in a way, this is challenging. It feels negative, but in another way, it's positive. It's allowing good things to come through. So it's like you're seeing the duality of life and trying to bring those pieces together, meet in the middle, and try to find the central column between the two. We could be looking at so we are in this time period called the Omer, and the Omer follows Passover. So during Passover or any of the other holy holidays, what happens is there's a window of time and space that opens up that allows us to connect to a certain quality of energy of the Creator that's not available to us in that particular level of intensity the rest of the year. And so when we do this, though, we do have to go through a process of integration and earning that light that we just were exposed to. And so sometimes that can mean that we are exposed to a period of time that brings challenges. And as we navigate these challenges and as we overcome and transcend our limitations and our negativity and our weaknesses, we become stronger and more loving and generous and sharing like the Creator, then that's how we kind of earn that light that we received and embody it and start to integrate it into ourselves. And then it becomes the up level that we begin to experience. And so times like this, it's a perfect example of duality, because when we have these challenges, our initial response is to bemoan them. Oh, a challenge. Oh, something unpleasant. Oh, I have an illness or an ailment or an inconvenience with whatever, God forbid. But those little moments of chaos are actually those opportunities that have these packets of light hidden within them. And when we overcome these challenges and we navigate them successfully, they open us up to greater blessings. So it's like we get to work off, like, see the scales that I have back here, the cosmic scales. When we go through these challenges, it's like we work off the negativity and we put more weight on the positive side of the scale. So even though this time is trying and it can be difficult sometimes, it can be it can stretch our ego, right? We are maybe annoyed with people right now, or we have situations that are bringing up our tendency to want to criticize or judge, any number of things. So each week corresponds to one of the dimensions on the tree of life. So this past week, the first week was, we were in Hakma, which was, or Hesed, which was all about like generosity and sharing and goodness and compassion. And then the second week was Gevura. And so that was about like judgment and finding a balance between standing up and fighting for something rather than not being like an aggressor or a tyrant or overbearing, using our strength in a positive way to build up rather than bulldoze over. So yeah, we might be feeling the tiredness of being challenged in those areas, but the more that we can maintain, like, practice awareness through this, the easier they become, because sometimes you start to feel like, is there a hidden camera? Like, is the universe messing with me? Because when you realize, like, oh, the theme of this week is this, and then the challenges start presenting themselves to you, you're like, are comedy writers in charge of my life? Like, what's happening here? But then you start to realize, oh, this is part of the simulation. It's easier to identify and navigate through when you're like, oh, this is a setup. Like, for instance, was it last week or this past week that we've just come through was the week about being challenged with criticism and judgment. And either, you noticed yourself judging and criticizing others, but you might have also noticed yourself being under the spotlight and under the eye of scrutiny. And that, I told the story a couple of times about a situation I was in last week that was just like, it was so extra that I was like, is this even real? Is this really happening? And I would laugh throughout the week, getting annoyed by the whole thing, just thinking about how this was exactly the theme. It was like one of those times where you innocently comment and you think you're doing good, and then the internet turns against you and you're like, oh God, I regret ever saying anything about anything. So that was totally me last week, and I was like, this couldn't be more like on par for the course this week. So funny. Okay, so we have the throat chakra coming out for this week, Visuddha. This is going to connect us with truth, with wisdom, right? We want to be authentic and have integrity in our speech, but also that our actions are aligned with our beliefs as well. So yes, there's something about like really imagining the life that we are wanting to create for ourselves in this moment, and realizing that there is a give and take and pros and cons to everything, right? And so you're seeing like, okay, these are the benefits that I will get out of this, but this is the work that I have to put into it, And if you are living in your authenticity though, and you're really showing up being you're true to yourself and true to your talents and gifts and purpose, then you can handle the duality of the fact that every wonderful thing also comes with a shit sandwich. And so no matter what you do in life, no matter what you dedicate your life to, and no matter how much you love it, it's going to come with a shit sandwich. And so we have to learn in life, which shit sandwiches are we willing to eat and which ones are we not? That it comes with every career, every like artful, like creative process and endeavor you set out on, any relationship that you have. There is a whole like column of wonderful things and aspects about this thing, and then there's a column of all the shit sandwiches that are going to come with it. So, if we are aligning ourselves with our truest authenticity, and we are being real, and we have integrity, and it's not like we're pushing ourselves to fit into a box for like society's expectations, then the thing will not drain us to death. When we are performative and we're doing what we think we're expected to do, or we think, oh, this is what we should want or should like to do, and it's not really us, then that drains the life out of us. And it's the thing that like leaves us burnt out and bitter and sour and all the things. But if our heart and soul are truly in what we're doing and what we're pursuing and how we want to give and share through our gifts, then even though we will get tired, it's not going to drain us in the same way. It's going to be something that actually gives us energy and gives us excitement and fills us up. This doing all of this, making content, sharing wisdom, and channeling, helpful insights for the weeks to come, it is tiring, and it does require a lot of my time. It requires a lot of discipline. And like recently I've had so much happening around like just in life that like sometimes I haven't even had time to make as much content as I usually make. And what I found is that even though some days I get tired of just the grind, when I go through periods where I'm not producing as much, I miss it, and I feel like there's something missing, and it makes me feel like, oh, everything's just sort of a little bit flatter and not as like, vivid without the things that I create. And I think that's a good way to gauge, if something's really draining or if something's like really actually building you up. Because at the end of the day, if you give yourself permission to not do it, right? What would you do if you quit? You'd be like, well, once I took a break, I'd probably just keep doing what I'm doing, right? So yeah, that's how you're being really true to yourself. One of the indications anyway. And then voice. So there's something definitely about like speaking your truth, using your voice, like you have something to say, you have valid thoughts and ideas to share, insights, right? Maybe it's important that you are impeccable with your word, right? Or the way that you talk about something. Maybe it's important for you to express yourself authentically and truthfully and real and not hold back or not, or even to also be aware of how you're using your voice and what you're saying and being mindful and wise with your words, especially like in the current climate we're living in. People are on edge, everything's weird, so now's a good time to be really intentional about, what you're saying and what you stand for and how you're speaking about those things. If it's helpful or if it causes more chaos, so many times our words, even though we have good intention, can lead to chaotic results. And it oftentimes has to do with the state of consciousness we're in when we say those words, right? Like the other day when I got into that hairy situation where the whole internet turned against me, I was saying something that I thought was very positive, but I was also in a state of worry and frenzy and sadness on behalf of others at that moment. Now, in my seed level consciousness, yes, in a way, I meant well, and I meant like my heart was feeling love for others in that moment, but I also felt fear, and I was also overwhelmed with fearful consciousness when I spoke. And even though those words were kind and they were well-meaning and well-intended, the fear got into the seeds, right? You know how we talk about our seed level of consciousness is like the source of a spring, of like a freshwater spring, and everything that is in that source of the spring is going to pollute the water, right? Or make the water better. And so you want to make sure that your consciousness is very clean so that it's not polluting the stream of everything that you're doing and everything that's flowing through you with that fear, right? Think about when you're making the mirepoix for a soup or a stew or a pot, right? You don't want to burn your onions, because then the whole soup, the whole pot is going to taste like burnt onion, right? And so that's like the seed level of when you're starting. So think about what state of consciousness you're in before you use your words. But as you do use your words, be impeccable with your word and be impeccable with your integrity. Yeah, I'm excited. I feel like there's something about like really using our imagination to like construct intentionally our vision for what we want to be creating, and accepting the fact that there's going to be pros and cons about creating this, and that's just how everything is. But I think that too, it's like staying in alignment with your highest truth and doing things in the highest integrity. But I think beautiful things are going to start unfolding. And I think that it's important that we pay attention to what we're speaking into our life, what we're speaking into existence. Are we speaking blessings into our life? Be careful about the way that you're talking about yourself and your situation. If you start expressing too much that you're tired or you're worried or all of those things, check yourself before you wreck yourself, right? Because you don't want to be speaking curses into your life either. You want to be very, very clear and very intentional about speaking seeds that are going to plant gardens of beauty in your life. All right, you guys, that is all for now. I will see you tomorrow for our weekly anchor message. Last night's Secret Teachings of Jesus video was really good. I thought that one really came out well, but I think they always turn out pretty good. So if you haven't already seen it, it's a good episode. We're like 12 portions away from being finished with the Gospel of Philip. I mean, we have been in Philip for over a year, so it's bittersweet. I've really enjoyed this gospel. I've really enjoyed the old Philip. And I'm excited to see what we're going to do next, what we're going to cover next. I have a feeling I think I know the first thing is going to be a quick one. It might be like a one episode, maybe 2 episode. Might be like a 1 to 3 parter, and then we'll go into, I think, this other gospel I'm excited about. All right. Well, I will check y'all later. Let me know what's going on with you throughout the week. Ciao.